I constantly hear from acquaintances and people I barely know who consider themselves fighters for freedom. How can you support Trump if you're against Putin? They're the same. Both are nationalists, both are against the global order, both are tyrants. And they even say that Trump is Putin's puppet, or others say that he's just a narcissist and Putin hooked him with flattery, and others say that he's just an idiot. By the way, for those who don't know, according to experts, Trump hasn't been officially tested, but experts say his IQ is between 145 and 156. Just so it's clear, graduates of American universities have an average IQ of 105 to 115. At the same time, Trump is what's called an intuitive thinker. That is, a person who can draw the right conclusion based on a very small amount of input data. I want to sort this out once and for all. Because claiming that Putin and Trump are the same is wrong. It's a mistake. It's a telling mistake. It shows that the person doesn't understand either Putin or Trump, nor the difference between freedom and the imitation of freedom. This is my thesis, which I will now try to prove to you, ladies and gentlemen. Putin and Trump are not the same, not even similar. They are opposites. Do you want facts? I have them. Putin totally controls the press. Trump fights with the press. But it works. It criticizes him every day. And no one goes to jail for an article or a broadcast. There have already been 4 cases where Trump filed lawsuits for deception, slander, and every time the TV network paid him, agreeing that yes, there really was deception, slander, defamation. He didn't imprison, he didn't kill, he sued. You can feel the difference, as they say. Many dictators act this way. Getting angry about deception, they file lawsuits. There is no free press in the Russian Federation. And in the USA, all it does is rob Trump. Do you often see on Russian television people saying that the war in Ukraine is a crime? And that Putin is a criminal since he started and organized it? And how many times a day do you hear that in America? The same thing, but about Trump, not about Putin. Wait, what does a tyrant and dictator do with a free press? Putin put his political rivals in prison, he poisoned some opponents, he destroyed independent parties. But does Trump do that? Who did he imprison? Who did he poison? Which party did he shut down? He tries very hard, but it doesn't really work out. By the way, it wasn't him persecuting someone, but rather he was the one being persecuted. They tried to get rid of him. They tried to kill him more than once. And who did he take revenge on? Such a tyrant and madman, a terrible dictator. Trump lost the election in 2020 and power was transferred peacefully. He came back through elections, but with tanks. And it wasn't his people counting the votes, but rather it was actually his opponent's people. Tyranny means centralization of power. Everything is in one person's hands, no decisions are made locally. Not everyone participates, everyone marches in the same line, right? The plan comes from the top, from the tyrant. Putin nationalized business, he put the economy under state control, and under the control of the security forces as well. Trump is lowering taxes. He wants to receive less. He is cutting regulations. He tells businesses, you're free. Oh my God, what a terrible tyrant. He tells businesses, you're free. Putin decides who gets to speak, what people are allowed to think, how you can pray. Trump defends the First Amendment, the right to say what you think, even if it makes everyone around you uncomfortable, including himself. Putin is building a state where a person exists for the system. And Trump is building a system where the state exists for the person. Now, about those who ask this question, they call themselves liberals. But a liberal is a person who stands for freedom. The word is liberty. But at the same time, these people who speak out demand as much government involvement in society's affairs as possible. And if you support the government controlling healthcare, education, speech, business, money, you're not a liberal. Because once again, a liberal is something else. You're a socialist, maybe with good intentions. Well, maybe I believe it, maybe, but you're a socialist. And if you keep calling yourself a liberal, then you're either a fool, a son of a bitch, or both. Centralization, dependence on the state, control over speech, all under the guise of fighting disinformation, ideology in schools under the guise of enlightenment. But we know this, ladies and gentlemen. We both know this. We've seen it. We've felt it. We've sensed it and touched it. And that's exactly why we can't say that's not true. And if we turn away, we must honestly, looking ourselves in the eye, say, guys, we know this, we've seen it, and that's exactly why we can look them straight in the eye and say, you don't know what you're talking about, but we do. Yes, 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 we understand. The Soviet system, through the KGB, through shortages, through the lies of state television, they vote for Trump. And people who have never lived under socialism, they hate it. That's the paradox we'll talk about today. And I promise in 5 minutes you'll understand something that most Americans will never understand. Unfortunately, by the way. Today I won't talk about Trump the man, his character, his tweets, and his past. Let's leave that to others. I'll talk about Trump as a political direction, about the value system he represents. I'll talk about us, Russian speakers. Not because we speak Russian, but because we are a certain type of people. People who know where the road that America, Obama, Biden, Mamdani, Cozy, and Cortez have taken leads. We came from there. We've seen it. We left it behind. We have the moral right and the moral duty to speak about this. But who are we? When I say we, Russian speakers, I don't actually mean the language or the country of origin. Among us, there are people from Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Georgia, Israel, Germany, from anywhere. What unites us is something else. We don't trust the government, not because we were taught that way, but because the government betrayed us. The government was our enemy. We knew that. They are the enemy. We know what a system looks like when it threatens, when it says, we'll take care of you. And what really lies behind that? We know that free cheese is only found in a mousetrap. We know that when the government controls everything, there is no freedom.
Нету.
And so we came to America, a country built by people who fled from terror. A country founded on the idea that the individual is more important than the state. That was amazing to me. And it was so incredibly beautiful. And we see how this idea is being destroyed, slowly with a smile under beautiful words like justice, exclusivity, inclusivity. There you go. Trump with all his flaws. Of course, he has flaws. All people do. Everyone does. He is someone who says, stop. In the same way, I wanted to say stop as soon as I saw where all this was going. The most important conclusion which sets us apart from nice, wonderful, but naive people who have never seen socialism. This government doesn't solve problems. The government creates problems. And then it offers itself as the solution. That was Ronald Reagan. Trump understands this on an instinctive level. Deregulation is not an economic term, it's a philosophy. Remove the bureaucrat from the path between a person and their goal, and the person will reach the goal on their own, and they'll learn along the way. And they'll get some bumps along the way, but then they'll learn, and next time it will be easier, and the next time, and the next, and the next. Each time it gets easier and easier. We know this. That's how we lived in the first years after emigrating. No connections, no language, no support, no money. And we managed. What do the leftists do? They say, you can't manage without us. You're weak. You're a victim. You need help. That's an insult in my opinion. That's paternalism. That's what we left behind. We're not weak. We don't want handouts. We want a level playing field. And we're going to play the game. When Americans argue about freedom of speech, for many it's an abstraction. But for us, it's not abstract at all. We remember what it means not to say what you think. I knew this since I was 6 years old. Never say that we talk about these things at home. What Grandpa said, don't repeat it. Absolutely not at school. We remember the jokes that were told in whispers. We remember that one careless word could cost you your job, your freedom, even your life. And when we see people getting fired for a tweet, there were no tweets in the Soviet Union. How platforms delete accounts. For me and many people I know, it's how universities ban certain speakers from being invited. How the word woman becomes political. I won't answer the question of what a woman is. I don't know. What nonsense is this? We've seen this before. Well, not with the word woman, but with something else. Trump made the fight against censorship the centerpiece of his politics. The First Amendment is not just a formality for him. And the X platform, Twitter, right? which Musk restored to a relatively open forum. This is part of the same movement. It's important to us. To us. It's important to us. Because we know that when speech is silenced, everything else is silenced afterward. If what I'm saying resonates with you, do one simple thing right now. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. Not for me, for yourselves. We have a special attitude toward money, not in terms of greed, in terms of respect for hard work. We know that money doesn't fall from the sky. We know that behind every dollar there's a decision, a risk, a sleepless night. That's why it physically bothers us when the government takes a third or half of what we've earned and gives it to those who didn't work, not to those who can't, but to those who don't want to, or prefers to do something else, and get handouts. Trump lowered taxes, Trump reduced regulations, Trump tells businesses, work, don't explain every step to an official. For us, this isn't politics, ladies and gentlemen. For us, it's normal human respect for what you do. We came here also for our children. We wanted to give them education, opportunities, and freedom of choice. And suddenly it turned out that the public school wants to teach our children things we absolutely disagree with. Not mathematics, physics, geography, but a certain ideology. For example, that America is a bad country. That success is a privilege, not the result of hard work. That gender is not biology, but a mood. Well, we've already been through this, though not with gender. Soviet schools had their own ideology, too. We know how that ends. Trump supports school choice. That is the right of parents to choose a school for their child. He supports homeschooling. He says, the parent, not the Ministry of Education, decides what is right for their child. For us, this is not politics. This is a basic principle. A key principle underlies all I discuss, known by various names across cultures, but its essence is the same. Don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. If you don't bother me, I won't bother you. Live as you want. Believe in what you want. Love whoever you want. It's none of my business. Absolutely none of my business. But don't touch my life, my money, or my children either. That is the foundation of a free society.
Неравенство.
Inequality of outcomes. No matter who works, you still get the same thing. But equality is the right to be left alone. Leftist ideology constantly violates this principle. It says, we know better. We will force you to be right. We will take from you and give to someone else. Because we decided that this is fair. What does it mean to take from me, to steal from me, to rob me? I don't want you to take from me. No, they come and say, give it up. And if you don't, we'll put you in jail. Either we'll punish you or beat you. If you resist, we'll even kill you. It's just violence with a fancy name. That's what those who hate Trump keep quiet about. Not a single war started during his 4 years, and so far what's happening in Iran isn't a war, and I hope it stays that way. 4 years, I mean his first term. Compare that to what happened before him and after. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Ukraine. Every time, smart people in suits explained why it was necessary. And every time, hundreds of thousands dead, trillions of dollars spent, and chaos instead of stability. We, people with our experience, understand this pattern. The empire always justifies expansion with beautiful words: liberation, democratization, humanitarian intervention. The USSR did the same thing, and we know how it ends. For those who are being liberated. Trump says America is not the world's policeman. That's not weakness, gentlemen. That's not withdrawal. That's common sense. A soldier who wasn't sent to war is alive. Taxes that weren't spent on someone else's war stayed in Americans' pockets. Look at what Trump did in the Middle East during his first term, the Abraham Accords. Israel made peace with the Emirates, with Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, without war, without concessions to terrorists, without years of negotiations in Geneva. All the experts said it was impossible, but Trump did it. Now the next step. To include Saudi Arabia in this architecture, and in the future to create a triangle, Israel, the Arab Sunni world, and Iran. Well, if the Iranian regime, of course, is ready for pragmatism and not for exporting revolution, this is not naive idealism, this is pressure plus incentives. If Iran changes, it joins the system and receives economic benefits. If not, it remains in isolation. Its neighbors will work out among themselves how to live. America will help with tools, but not with soldiers and not with money. For Israel, this is important, and for us, ladies and gentlemen, because many of us are connected to Israel. This means not just peace negotiations and agreements, it means a regional architecture where Israel is not surrounded by enemies and is not an outcast, but is integrated into an economic and strategic alliance, Ukraine. This is a topic where our audience does not have a unified opinion. I respect that, both sides. I believe that Russia is the aggressor. I believe that Ukraine is suffering, but someone else may have a different opinion. Some people likely have different views about Iran and Israel. Among us, there are people from Russia, from Ukraine, with those beliefs, and that's okay. Here's what I'll say. Trump wants to stop it. This is madness. He's being accused of betraying Ukraine, and I'll ask a simple question. How many more people have to die while we wait for a complete victory? And what is a complete victory, by the way? Negotiations are not surrender. It's an attempt to stop the bloodshed. We, Russian speakers, understand this war more deeply than any strategist in Washington. We know people on both sides. That's exactly why many of us want one thing: for this to stop. And by the way, Trump is the only politician in the world who openly says this needs to be stopped. You're probably watching this channel because these topics matter to you. And I want to offer something. For $4 a month, less than a cup of tea, you become a paid subscriber. What does that give you? Additional videos that aren't publicly available, analyses, interviews, materials that I first post for subscribers. Later, if at all, I show them to everyone else. Paid subscribers always come first. If you want to support more, you can do more. It's your choice. As it should be, the link is below in the description. Just click and go. It's all very easy. We live, ladies and gentlemen, in interesting times, perhaps at a turning point. America is choosing, and not only its own fate depends on this choice. Millions of people around the world depend on it. People who look at America as the last bastion of the idea that a person can be free. We, people with our experience, our memory, our immunity to beautiful lies, have obligations. A very simple and very difficult one: not to stay silent. To speak. To explain to children, to neighbors, to acquaintances, not because we are right or left, but because we have seen where this very road leads. Supporting Trump is not fanaticism. It is support for a system in which the individual is more important than the state, in which your success depends on you, in which no one will come and tell you what to think and how to raise your children. So let's make a table of similarities and differences for clarity. On the left side, the criterion, then Putin, then Trump. So the criterion is the press. Putin controls and suppresses. Trump fights with it, but it works freely. Opposition. Under Putin, prison, poison, and the destruction of the party, Trump had a peaceful transfer of power in 2020. The criterion is power. Putin is about centralization, everything in one person's hands. Trump is about deregulation, power at the local level, transfer of power, section, economy. Putin stands for nationalization and state control. Trump stands for tax cuts and a free market. Speech, freedom of speech. Putin has censorship, self-censorship, fear. Trump has First Amendment protection, real protection. Elections. Under Putin, they're a sham. The result is known in advance. The United States of America. Real competition. A verifiable result. Attitudes toward war. With Putin, it's aggression, annexation, and expansion. Trump, during his first term, repeatedly, wars in 4 years. What is happening now, I really hope, will not escalate into war. And the individual versus the state. In Russia, the person exists for the system, while in America, the state is created for the individual.
Человека.
I think that people, anyone even less than stars, can understand this, and I don't think that brainwashed graduates of colleges in the US and Europe will want to understand it. But supporting Trump is supporting freedom. Supporting Trump is not fanaticism or blind faith. It's supporting a system where the individual is more important than the state. Your success depends on you. There's no official. No one will come and tell you what to think or how to raise your children. Words are protected, They are suppressed, and wars are the last resort. They are the first tool. People who have gone through the Soviet system, through the KGB, through the lies of state television, they vote for Trump not because he's perfect, but because we've seen where the other road leads. We have the moral right and the moral duty to talk about this. Share this video with your liberal friends and relatives and let them hiss and answer back. Maybe some of this will stay with them deep down. Thank you for watching, and thank you for staying until the end. Until next time.